It's no secret that a lot of new coaches and consultants have come online in the last few years. But the question is, do you feel like it is saturated? Okay, here's the reality. While thousands of people claim to be coaches and consultants, only a tiny fraction of them are actually winning. Okay, there's this competition dilution factor, you could call it, where there's a lot of people trying to be a coach or a consultant because it's a great business model. There's a smaller circle of them trying to sell the same offer as you. There's a much smaller circle who are selling the same offer as you and actually bring value to the market. And then there's a tiny circle selling the same thing as you, actually bringing value to the market, and then making the right strategic moves at the volume required in order to succeed. Okay, I'm talking about the top 1%. These are the people that build multi-million-dollar brands. They attract the clients that they want. And beyond that, they actually leverage this business model to be able to live life on their terms. Okay, I've generated over $6 million online selling coaching and consulting, and I've identified 9 critical moves. Let's call these power moves that separate the real players in the space from the folks who just are not there. Okay, and that's what I'm going to break down in today's video. All right, by the end of this one, you're going to know how to position yourself in that top 1% so that you can charge the prices that you want. You can eliminate sales calls because your brand and your content are doing the heavy lifting for you. And you can ultimately build a business that works for you and not against you. Okay, so specifically, what is the goal, right? I want to define this because I think it's important, and then the 9 levers or the 9 moves will really flow from this. Okay, so for me, this is the goal, right? When it comes to working with clients, I want to get them to the point where they're a millionaire coach or consultant, like $1 million net worth. They can pick and choose who they work with. They've got a loyal audience and a loyal following who buy consistently the offers that they put out. They've got a brand that can get them clients without sales calls because the trust and the goodwill that they've built up in the market facilitates that. And then I want them running the business in a way that gives them the time, the flexibility, the freedom to live healthy, happy, and balanced lives outside the business and make all that happen at the same time. It might sound like a lofty goal, but it's achievable. This is exactly what I've been able to do in my own life, and so I know I can help my clients achieve it as well through the right strategic moves. Okay, as I said, today we're going to dive into 9 things that the top 1% that achieve this do that the other 99% are missing. So let's dive right in. Okay, top 1% move number 1. We want to develop your own market of one. We started out with a conversation around competition and saturation. This is your solution. Okay, whether they realize it or not, the top 1% coaches, consultants, mentors are creating a market of one using the formula or a variation of the formula below. This is a model that I've created through my own experience, and it ultimately comes down to 3 components: the world that you build, the game plan that you execute with your clients, and the mission that you are on and the mission that you are on with your clients. Okay, so let's talk through these individual components. All right, your world, this is where you share your values. This is where you share your experience. This is where you share the people that are in your life. This is where you share the places that you live and the places that you travel. This is your language. This is your energy. This is the world that you let people into through your content. There's going to be different scenes within that world. Like I sometimes film content here. I sometimes film content at home. Sometimes I'm on the road traveling. But this is the world that you create for your audience to ultimately consume. And I've done other videos on my content strategy, but we want to be blending business and life because it's critical that we connect with people across both levels. We've got a separate point on this that I'm going to touch on, but this is how we ultimately build like a true connection with people where we talk to them about what we do, but we also share with them who we are. Okay. And so our world in the model, this is where, really this goes down. Okay. We've then got our game plan, right? This is the methodology that we implement with our clients, right? We want something that's simple. We want something that we've proven up through our own work, through our work with our clients. We want to focus on results over complexity. And it's critical that this game plan aligns to the values that we demonstrate when we talk to people about who we are. I gave this example in another video, but I talk a lot about how I design my business so I can spend a lot of time with my family. I've got an 18-month-old son. I've got another one on the way in a couple of months. And it wouldn't be congruent for me to talk about that and then go and talk about how I spend 12 hours a day on sales calls. Strategically, the plan that I help my clients deploy to get the transformation that they want has to be aligned to the life that I live. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense and it won't work as far as people actually buying into it. Okay, so that's your game plan. And then the third one, this is the deeper purpose, right? This is like, why are you doing the thing that you're doing? Okay, and what are you fighting against, right? This doesn't have to be like this aggressively adversarial type of marketing, but it's like, what don't you stand for, right? What do you stand against? So for me, this is things like, going all in on building a business while all these other areas of your life suffer, right? It's the preaching of hustle and aggressive scale from people who, they're probably not really living that life. And I've experienced, I made it to the peak of the finance game in my 20s. I worked the 80 hours a week. I worked 100 hours a week. I did the $1 billion deals, and it's just not what it's cracked up to be, right? It's glamorized, but that's not the life that you ultimately want to live, right? And so we need to tackle these things head on, and that's part of your mission. And then your future vision, this is like, what are you building towards? And this can manifest in a few different ways. One part about what I talk about in mine is documenting the journey to building 100 million net worth. Why? The number doesn't really mean much, but it gives me a big challenge to work towards. It's an even bigger challenge because I want to do it at the same time as living an amazing life and being there for my family. And so, you can paint this future vision of where you're going. You can paint a future vision of what you want for your clients and what life will be like on the other side of working with you. But this is really the deeper purpose behind what you do and why you do it. And when these are all unique to you and these are all really aligned with who you are and where you ultimately want to go, it's the intersection of these three elements that create a market of one, because only you have your world and the characters that are in it, and you talk like the way that you do, right? And you show up with your energy. Your game plan, it should be unique based on your experience, right? Yes, there's going to be overlaps to, different people that you've learned from, and there's market consistencies or niche consistencies, but yours should be unique based on your own experience, right? And then your mission, it's like, well, why do you do it? And what are you building towards? That can be 100% unique to you. And so when we layer these three elements together, that's how we engineer a market of one, okay? When we successfully integrate these three elements, something really, really cool happens. Price resistance vanishes, or at least significantly reduces, right? Because when people connect with you across these three elements, they can't just go shop somewhere else, right? It's like, if they really vibe with you, they really vibe with you. There might be someone out there with a similar-ish brand hook or a similar-ish promise, but if they vibe with you across all these areas and they're refined and truly you, they just can't go buy it somewhere else, right? Client attraction will come a lot more natural because people resonate with you on a deeper level than just like, here's how to make a YouTube video, okay? You can't be commoditized, right? You stand alone in your space, not just in what you do, but in the purpose behind it and the characters in your world, and it becomes this whole package, right? You'll build more authentic and long-term relationships beyond just transactions because you're letting people into your life, right? It's not just about selling a one-off thing. It's about, let's do this journey together. Okay. Marketing becomes a lot easier. This is how you can truly document. You don't have to create, right? Because in my world, I just share my day-to-day. In my game plan, I share what I'm working on with my clients and what I'm doing in my own business. And in my mission, that's about reflecting on what I've done and where I'm going and why I'm doing things. And so it makes content creation really, really easy and allows you to really lean into the Gary V of document and don't create. Okay. So this model makes content creation significantly easier. You're going to create lifestyle alignment and your business will be in harmony with it as opposed to working against it. It makes everything seamlessly integrate. Okay. And then I've written here empire potential. This is another point. So let's just put a pin in this for now, and we're going to circle back to it. Okay. Critical note is that we have to get all three elements rolling. Single elements alone may get you some results, but it will be limited. The ultimate goal is the intersection of all three, where you have a unique world and a unique story, you have a unique game plan, and you're clear on your mission about why you're doing this and where you're going. Okay. This has personally been huge in me making millions in sales from a small audience. This is also very powerful if you want to monetize a small audience. You don't want to have to go viral. You don't want to have millions and millions and millions of followers, right? It has a massive impact on your client results. They're going to want to work with you longer term, which naturally means they're going to get better results. And the other thing that I love about this is that it's a model and not a tactic. Okay. So I can take this model, apply it as a lens over anybody's business, regardless of what they sell, the platforms that they're on, the tactics that they're currently using, the funnel, are they running ads, are they doing organic? None of that shit matters when it comes to carving this out, right? Because it's fundamentally comes down to who they are, what they do with their clients, and why they're doing all of this, and then dialing in the individual elements that you can see in the model. And this makes it really building from principles, and it's timeless and it's evergreen. Okay, so that's the very, very first one, is carving out your market of one across those three key areas. Okay, if we move on to number 2, it's having a signature offer. Okay, this is what top 1% coaches have, is they have a signature offer, a flagship offer that sits at the top of their ecosystem, and that's ultimately the goal of where people want to ascend to. All right. You want some clear qualification criteria around this. This is going to be the top, 1, 2, 3% of your audience. This is where you're going to build really long-term relationships. And then ideally, as a result of that, you can aggressively build recurring revenue. Okay. In my world, I started at my inner circle in 2021, and here I work with clients one-to-one, and they must be making at least 10,000 per month in order for us to work together in there. Right now, the number of clients that I've had in there at different times has evolved. It depends on the other offers that I've got available as well. It also depends on how much one-to-one work that I want to do at any point in time. Okay. But this is the top of the ecosystem, so to speak. Within the inner circle, there's different packages depending on the situation, depending on the duration, depending on the deliverables. And then beyond that, there's scope where I do some work with folks on a performance basis. We look at revenue share, kind of quasi-equity structures. But it's all off the back of inner circle, because I really want that relationship with people before we go down those types of paths. And so inner circle is the perfect name for it, because it's, the 1, 2, 3% type that really, ascend all the way up. And so I would recommend that you integrate that into your offer structure. Okay. Flowing on from that, move number 3 is creating offers to support growth for not qualified audience members. Okay. And so what I mean by this is, if we've got this, flagship offer at the top, and it's for a small percent of our audience, right? This is not a hard and fast rule, right? This is a bit of a kind of catch all, right? But if it's let's even say it's the top 10% of our audience, or top 20%, you're like 80-20. You want some offers in place beyond that to monetize and to be able to help the people outside of that. Okay, and so we can deploy different structures in order to make this happen. Because what you need to understand when it comes to a coaching and consulting business is there's 2 ways that you can get clients. You can either get clients or you can grow clients. When it comes to getting clients, an example of that would be if someone's watching this video, they're already making $50,000 a month. They like the idea of deploying this model. They come to me, we do some work together in the inner circle. That's getting a client based on where they're already at, they qualify, right? Growing a client would be where they come in through, say, my academy, which is specifically for people under 10K a month. We get them up to 10, 15, 20K a month. Then we move into the inner circle. That's like a natural ascension pathway. And we do it ultimately in both ways. But these offers for people who aren't currently qualified for the flagship offer are great, because they allow you to recoup cash flow sooner. help people beyond that, top few percent. And ultimately, you're building future dream clients. And if you help people from early on and you help them move up the levels, they will be very, very loyal to you. They'll stay with you long term, and they will be amazing referrers. Okay. And so, as I said, this is exactly what I do in my ecosystem with LBA, the Lifestyle Business Academy. There's links to LBA Inner Circle below if you want to check it out. And then I also do, workshops where I go deep on specific topics for people who, maybe they don't even want to make the jump into this yet. And then I've also rolled out something new called the Millionaire Leaders Network. This is a long-term kind of a passion play for me. It's a success network. I'm essentially tapping into the network that I've built up over the years in this game. And each month I'm bringing in these elite operators that people wouldn't normally get access to outside of like 5 and 6 figure mastermind groups. I'll put a link to this below as well if you want to check it out. So really, changing the mastermind game there, and that's another opportunity people can go ahead with if they're either not qualified to hop into Inner Circle yet, or they don't want to jump into LBA yet. So having these different income streams is very beneficial from a business cash flow perspective, but also in terms of building and growing with future clients. Okay. Number 4. Strict boundaries, constraints, and rules for business and for life. Okay. I used to think that freedom meant, like complete blank calendar with no, plans, and kind of just float with the wind a little bit. I've since found it to be the inverse of that. Now, that doesn't mean I fill my calendar up with time on everybody else's stuff all the time. I want it to be working on my own things in business and in life, but the more structure I put in, the more free I become, because I become so much more efficient. Okay. And so when it comes to boundaries, there's really 3 principles that I want you to remember. The first one is that you train people's treatment of you. We train people how we want to be treated. And the first step in fixing this is being aware of it. Okay. You get what you ask for, right? If you're not prepared to ask the question and shoot your shot, you're gonna, you may not like the outcomes that you get. Okay. And the third one is, you control your business rules. It's your business. You get to put the rules in place, right? And then it's up to you to hold the line on those rules. Okay. Most people know this, but they're not living it out of fear, out of people pleasing, out of, I guess, not fully owning that it is their business and they can set these rules. And look, it requires courage to set the boundaries, and then it requires even more courage to hold firm on these. But I can promise you, having done this and having been through this journey and made the mistake when I launched my first coaching program, I didn't understand this stuff. No one had taught me it. I didn't learn it, and I very rapidly enrolled hundreds of clients, and life was chaotic. My inbox was blowing up. I was working massive hours. Support was crazy. It was a shit show because I didn't understand this concept of boundaries. And so I had to quickly learn and figure this out. Okay. If you want some ideas about where should you set boundaries, let's talk about that. I would recommend that you have a creation zone or a deep work zone. This is what this office is for me. I've got a beautiful apartment that's about 5-minute drive from here. It's on the beach. It's amazing. But the challenges of having an 18-month-old at home, and the house is about to get louder as we have another one. I've got an amazing office set up. It's got a library in there. All my hundreds of business books are there, and I love working from there. But it's just not practical to work from home if I really want to get deep and focused work in. And so I rent this office. I can still see the ocean, thankfully. I rent this office, so I've got this deep work space where I can come in and I can film and I can write and I can help clients on strategy, and it's so quiet and it's uninterrupted and it's amazing. Okay, so that's an environmental boundary. When I'm in here, it's work. That's it. Right? I lock in. I'm never here for longer than I need to be. I come in, I get it done, I get out. So that's an environmental thing. From a creative zones, this also flows into setting time aside to actually create. This is a big problem people run into with their marketing, is like, oh, I don't have time to write to my email list or create my content. Like that is critical. Your business is nothing without marketing, right? And so you need to set time aside to create, and it needs to be uninterrupted time. The time that you set aside to make the YouTube video is just as important as the time that you set aside to do anything else, right? Because without it, things become challenging. Okay. Another example of boundaries is setting certain days where you do or don't do certain things. For me, I've spoken about this many times. I don't do calls on Mondays or Fridays, and that's not no client calls. I obviously don't do sales calls. There's no group calls. I always keep 99% of the time. I keep Mondays and Fridays clear. This was originally born out of before Hendrik was around and Leon and I used to travel a little bit more. We would do a lot of domestic travel in Australia so that I could go watch my football team play. And we'd hit up a couple of wineries nearby. Thankfully, they're usually geographically quite closely aligned. And I didn't want to have to move calls around to go and do that, right? And so I just put a hard and fast rule in it. I said, Mondays, Fridays, no calls. They're me days. They're me days either if I'm out of the business, or they're me days if I'm in the business. And I can tell you, bookending the week, being able to look ahead at what's coming and focus on your own stuff. And today's Friday when I'm filming this, having the time to do your stuff and round out the week and reflect and tee up for next week, it's a game changer. It's massive. I would highly recommend that you integrate this point. If you take nothing else from this video, make it this point. Okay. And then the inverse of that is I talk to my clients on Tuesdays to Thursdays. Okay. Make sure you've got chunked out deep work periods. For me, these are Mondays and Fridays, obviously. And then the times around when I have calls on these days. I would encourage you to set ideation time. This is just brainstorming and coming up with ideas for really anything. It could be coming up with ideas for content. It could be coming up with ideas to improve your sales process, your offers, coming up with ideas for ways to help out your clients, coming up with ideas to improve your own mindset, your own efficiency, your own productivity, your own physical health, your own mental health. Just literally thinking time. Come up with ideas, roll them in, and then get the data and move on. And then it goes without saying, right? But make sure this gets the same airtime as the business, the money, all that kind of shit. Because if you neglect this, there's a very real risk that it can't be fixed. Whereas you have a bad month in business, so be it. Money problems can be fixed. If you neglect your family for a long period of time, you neglect your health for a long period of time, that shit can be irreparable. Okay? And so make sure you're putting the family time, the health time in alongside it. And as I was saying with the creation stuff, make sure it is just as important. Okay. Talk a little bit about implementing this, figure out what your rules are going to be, start with a couple, integrate them, slowly integrate more, and then don't bend or break them. Okay. I say never. There's always going to be practical realities that cause us to have to sometimes. But if it's like an every week or even an every other week thing, you're giving yourself a cop out. Okay. There's going to be, depending on the rules that you choose and depending on how many clients and stuff that you've got, there's going to be people that it pisses off, but so be it. It's actually a great way to, weed out people who don't respect your time and respect your boundaries. And then, remember, we train people how we want to be treated. So when you bend on these rules, you're encouraging people to push them and they'll keep pushing them. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. It's just the way that it works. Okay, so it's up to you to hold firm. All right. Number 5. Okay, I said we were going to put a pin in this concept of empire building. Okay, this is an empire building in the sense of like building a huge corporation, which is typically where people's mind goes. This is a light bulb I had last year. As you get older, you typically take on more responsibility. Is I think a fair general statement. Life doesn't typically get easier. Family health issues, you might have kids, you might take on debt, all these kind of things, right? And I had a period last year, both my parents have had pretty significant health challenges, running a business, trying to be the best dad that I can be, trying to take care of my own physical and mental health. I take care of my grandfather. I financially take care of my grandfather. It's a lot, right? It adds up, and there's periods of time where things can really crescendo. And there was a moment last year where it was a day where we got pop home from hospital, and then something happened with mum's health, and it was just like, fucking hell, right? We literally just got over this first thing, and now it's another thing, and had a bit of a moment, and then just took some time to think and reflect, and I can't remember the exact catalyst of where this perspective came from, but it was a big shift for me. It's about thinking a bit bigger than just building a business, right? We juggle all these areas of life as I just described, and the shift in thinking for me has been, rather than thinking about them as individual things that I'm trying to split my attention across, thinking about them holistically as they're the elements of my empire, right? Some people might think that sounds a bit wanky or cringe or narcissistic, and you can think that, that's fine. But I've found this to be quite a empowering paradigm that I wanted to share with you, and I think this is a really important element. Okay, people look at business and it's competing with family. They battle their health versus working. They battle looking into the future versus being present now, and it's this constant fight and juggle and balancing act. Okay, I want to give you an analogy that is going to hit home for some people, and some people are going to disregard it, but it's been quite powerful. I want you to imagine that you're a medieval ruler, right? And you've got a kingdom. Okay, you've got a castle, and you've got a kingdom, and you've got townspeople around you, and that you've got the social hierarchy, and you've got walls around your town, and there's threats to that town because there's other kingdoms nearby who want to take what you've got, and all this kind of stuff. If you're in that position, you can't focus on one area while the others crumble. Well, you could, but you wouldn't have a kingdom for very long. Okay, you can't just focus on your food supply if one of the entrances to your kingdom is compromised and one of the towns over is invading. You need to balance all of the areas. Okay, everything connects and everything matters. And so this has just given me a perspective that has been quite revolutionary for me, where I've tried to stop looking at things as separate battles and viewing everything as one empire. I don't know if this is hitting home or not. It has for some of the clients that I've spoken about it with, right? Business is the treasury of the empire. Business cash flows it, right? My family, that's the foundation, right? That's the rock solid foundation. My health is going to be directly tied to the empire's strength. And where I see everything going, that's the vision for the empire's future. Okay. So you can either vibe with this or not, but it's a perspective that I've found quite, as I said, empowering through challenging times. All right. When you really embrace this thinking as well, I've found responsibility goes from feeling like not necessarily a negative thing, but from being maybe a bit of a burden or a weight to a privilege. Okay. And the shift there is really, I have this responsibility because I'm capable. This responsibility comes to me because I'm capable. I'm taking on more responsibility because I'm capable of it. And if you want to distill down a life purpose, it's become more capable so that you can help other people, right? And so I think you can look at it as a privilege because you're taking on more responsibility because you're capable, and that it's a privilege to be capable, right? It's a sign that you're moving in the right direction. Chaos becomes opportunity. What can I learn from this? How can I get better? Okay, complexity becomes exciting. How can I simplify this? How can I figure it out? And it creates a bit of a alignment. Okay, so that's a hard one to explain. I hope I've done an okay job on that point. And it's still something that I'm really mentally processing in real time. It's only about 5-6 months old for me, that kind of realization, but maybe it hits. Okay, moving on to number 6. I've got a separate video on this that I'll link below where I do a deep dive. But this is my content model. Okay, top 1% coaches and consultants, they're creating daily content across multiple media formats. And again, whether they realize it or not, it fits within this framework. They're educating people on who they are. They're educating people on what they do. And then they've got systems in place such that when the prospect's journey, their problems, their goals ultimately align from a timing perspective, they are there and they're ready to go. Okay. This is about creating something bigger than content. It's creating a strategic alignment between these three key areas, right? And like I said, I've done over $6 million selling coaching and consulting through content. Okay. And so engineering this moment, this is key. This is critical. This is where you've probably experienced it in two ways. You've probably experienced it as a buyer and as a seller, where someone they've followed you for months, even years, and then they see something and they move forward. Or as a buyer, you followed someone, you've watched their videos, and then they send you an email and it just hits you between the eyes and you go, yep, and I'm in, right? That's the moment. And we want to engineer that. And this is the model that we use in order to do that. Okay, I'll give you a quick crash course on the three elements. The who you are, this gives context to what you do. Okay, this is the person behind the content. This is the values and the vision, your lifestyle and your principles, your core beliefs and your mission, right? You'll notice all this comes through in the content that I create. Even if I'm talking about strategic stuff, tactical stuff, I talk about why I do it and the values that underpin the business. Okay, the second bucket is what you do. Right? This is your expertise and your experience, your frameworks and your intellectual property, the client transformations, the results that you've gotten yourself, your clients, etc. This stuff is what people are pretty good at from a content perspective, but most of them lack this foundation, which gives context to it. And this is how you can separate yourself from other people who may do the same thing as you. All right. And then the third element, this actually has nothing to do with what we say in our writing, in our videos. And it has everything to do with the journey that the prospect is on and their timing. Okay, this shits me off about the kind of sales world is that people think like, close anyone at any cost at any time kind of approach. Each prospect is on their own individual journey, and we've just spent time talking about how life kind of ebbs and flows in terms of responsibility and stress and complexity, right? And there's going to be times where you might want to sell a coaching program, but someone is just not fucking in the point in their life where they need it, right? They could be interested in it, but the timing isn't right. Okay, how we optimize for this is we are omnipresent, is we are consistent, and we continue to get better as a leader, as a brand, through our products, with our clients, all these kind of things. We just keep getting better and better. And then when their timing is right, we will be there. Okay. That's a very aggressive crash course in the model. Like I said, I'll put a separate video that goes way deeper on it. Some common mistakes is leaning in one way too much and not ultimately having a balance, or just being inconsistent. So, the reason inconsistency costs you money is because then when someone is ready to move forward, if you're not there and you've not created any content in a few months, they're going to just assume you're not around anymore and they're going to go somewhere else. Okay. We're ultimately aiming to achieve all of them. They're authentic, they're aligned with you, and consistency really becomes pretty effortless because it's so congruent. Okay. And the result is people are ready to buy, ready to go. They're pre-sold. This is a key part in how we ditch sales calls as well. Okay. And then that's really what happens when it all aligns. All right. Number 7, multiple diversified traffic and lead sources. Okay. It's totally okay to start with one, but once you've mastered it, I would recommend that you bolt on more quickly so that you're reducing your risk. Okay. You do not want your entire business to be dependent on one thing. It's okay to start and you want to have the focus when you start, but once you've got something to lose, you need to start diversifying. Okay. It's very, very high risk. Things can change. And you want traffic and leads coming to you from multiple places. Ultimately, you want to build up to the point where you've got paid ads running, so you've got people joining your list 24/7, and it's predictable. It's like, all right, I'm going to wake up and there's going to be 100 new people on my email list. You want to have automated SOPs where you can have someone on your team executing on tasks every day that gets new people in front of you. This could be that they're doing kind of outreach. It could be that they're, sending connection requests. It could be that they're sending out emails to try get you on a podcast. It could be a lot of different things, but you want them executing on them daily. And then your content strategy can obviously leverage the algorithm, organic reach, all these kind of things. And then the fourth big one that I really love is tapping into other people's platforms. So this is where you might get an interview, you might get an asset in someone's mastermind. If you've got a specialization, I would encourage you to go and find people who have your ideal clients in their audience and figure out, how can I get my story in here? How can I get my value in here in a complementary but not competing way? When you do this and when you do this well, you have all these different traffic points ultimately pointing towards you, and these can be assets that last for years. I did a talk at a mastermind in Florida in 2019, still get traffic from it to this day. It was like a 90-minute presentation. It ended up in a members area, and people find me, especially Australians find me. That's the power of leveraging other people's platforms. Your traffic, all the clients that you want are already out there. They've just got to find you, right? And so this is a way that you can intercept that traffic. Just find complementary, not competing opportunities. Okay. Ultimately, the goal with this is we want more brand awareness every day. We want to wake up every day and know that more people know who we are than they did yesterday. We want this to happen in an automated way. Okay. And then when you pair this with this content strategy, you've got growth, new people, width, awareness, and you've got connection, you've got depth, you're warming up that traffic. So those two really go hand in hand. Okay. Move number 8, eliminate, automate, and then delegate ruthlessly. This is something that you should do periodically, is you should review, eliminate the non-essential, cut what's not working, remove stuff that you've outgrown, eliminate the things that aren't aligned anymore, be that offers or platforms or content, or it could be team members, it could be clients, it could be any number of things. But cull, okay, you can ask yourselves these questions. What can go? What's not moving the needle? What have I grown past? What isn't aligned to my North Star and where I'm ultimately going, and what doesn't fit? Ask these questions and you'll start to figure out things in the business that you just don't need anymore. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is we want to map out the entire customer journey from the first touch. So the first touch could be they see a YouTube video, they see an ad, like that very first point of interaction, and then break that down even further. So like, how do we create an ad? Well, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to hit record, right? So that's like the first point, all the way till the very end of your highest offer, the last point of delivery, and then how that ultimately feeds back in terms of word of mouth. Map out every micro step and then figure out, what can I automate? Okay. Once we can do this before we go through the elimination exercise, but what we ultimately want to be doing is automating as much as possible after we've done the elimination exercise, and then delegate. What people do is they jump straight to delegation and they start delegating out shit that should have been eliminated or could have been automated. And this just bloats cost, because you've got people doing stuff that's not moving the needle, or you're paying someone to do something that a computer technology could be doing. Okay. This is the difference between achieving leverage through people versus achieving leverage through media and code. They're at different points on the leverage hierarchy. Okay. And the more we can move up that hierarchy, the better. Okay. And I would recommend that you very careful about what you outsource and not doing it too soon, right? It's just hard to give kind of blanket advice on because it depends on the situation. But extracting yourself from content creation can be a very risky move, just as an example. Okay. When you do this and when you do this successfully, you can keep things lean, keep them efficient. You'll keep them clear and simple, and you'll keep your profits as high as possible. Okay. Number 9. All right. Ruthless clarity on the real game you are playing. You've probably got the impression or the understanding now that I'm big on models and frameworks and going above tactics, because I think this is when you have these, it makes you a lot more versatile as an operator. Okay. And this is a model that I've built for myself, but this is what I call my digital wealth flywheel. This is really how I integrate my brand, life when it comes to traveling and networking and masterminds, my online business, information coaching, consulting, and Caris Investments, which is the investment fund that I'm building up as well. This is a model that allows all of these to work together. And this is the real game. This is what I mean about the real game. You might see online Jacob sells, coaching consulting courses, but there's something bigger at play. And this is what I'm optimizing for. And this is what I mean by ruthless clarity on the real game, like the big picture about what you're building. Most people aren't clear on this. Okay. This requires, self-awareness to actually reflect and figure this stuff out. Okay. So I've just given you a kind of a crash course, but the key point with this is that it operates like a flywheel where the more my brand grows, the more the business will grow. The more the business grows, the more money I've got to invest. The more I invest, the more lessons that I'm going to learn, the more people that I'm going to meet, the more opportunities that are going to unlock. And that all feeds back into the brand because that's more shit that I can share and document along the way. That's more events that I'm going to get to attend. All right. We can take it back the other way as well, which is, the more I invest, the more I learn, the more different ventures and stuff that I get involved in, particularly from an active equity perspective. That's naturally going to flow through to the work that I do with my clients at all different levels. And this is going to make more money. The more money that this makes, the more I can grow the brand. The more the brand grows, the more investment opportunities are going to unlock. Okay. So in both directions and in every kind of which way, it feeds itself and it becomes self-perpetuating to a degree. Okay. I like having these models. I like having these frameworks because it gives me something to reflect on. It gives me an anchor to make decisions. Okay. And clarity is what will unlock completely different levels of productivity and efficiency. And I build these models because they give me a lot of clarity, and hopefully me sharing them with you will unlock clarity for you as well. All right. And that's how number 9. Okay. Whew. I need a drink. Hopefully, there was at least one lesson in there that really, really hit home. These are all really critical, right? I've been doing this for a long time, have done it very, very well for a long time, and these are all critical points, okay? With that all said, if you'd be interested in doing some work together on any one of these components or any of the other elements I've covered in my videos, there are going to be 2 main options. If you're under 10 grand a month, there's a link below. You can jump into my Lifestyle Business Academy. What will happen is you'll jump in, we'll work together to build you a custom plan. You get access to the full lifestyle consulting model, which has made me over $6 million in coaching and consulting. And then we'll meet in a group environment to implement it. If you're over 10K a month, really anywhere up to like $1 million a month is where I've got clients, and you want to integrate this system, I'd recommend my Inner Circle. There's details for that below, as well as links to both of them, as well as a couple of other things that you might want to check out. But there's your 9 things. Power moves. Remember, this is the goal. And I think if you run with each of these 9 things, you're welcome to, I've said this a few times recently, but you're welcome to take the transcript from this video, go dump it into ChatGPT and cross-reference it to your business and see where there's gaps. I think it'll help you out a lot. Check out the links in the description if you want to do some work together. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.